Hello and welcome to the big picture. As the election season approaches, not just in the 5 states at the end of the year, but also the general elections to the Lok Sabha next year, the media space is full of advertisement campaigns by various state and central governments. In the midst of all this, a Lokayukta indictment of the Delhi Chief Minister for the campaign launched by her government in 2007-8 has come as a warning signal to every political party. The Lokayukta has not only found the misuse of public funds, but has also recommended framing of guidelines for publication of government advertisements on development works. The Lokayukta finding raises many key issues which needs a debate as every government indulges in spending tens and hundreds of crores as the elections approach. How to ensure that proper safeguards are drawn up to prevent misuse of public funds is a key issue. However, there is also the issue of governments having to publicize their achievements to make people or voters aware of it. But opposition parties find themselves at a disadvantage as there is no level playing field with party in power using government funds while parties in opposition having to generate their own funds. How to work out a system where a level playing field is evolved. We will discuss all this today with TSR Subramanian, former Cabinet Secretary, Siddharth Nath Singh, BJP spokesman, Mohd Afzal, Congress spokesman, Dilip Cherian, founder Perfect Relations, Rakesh Sharma, CEO of Prabhatam Group, which also runs advertising agencies, and Venkitesh Ramakrishnan, associate editor, Frontline magazine. Welcome to all of you. First, I would like to go to Mr. Subramanian. Mr. Subramanian, you know this is a very interesting order of the Lokayukta yesterday, saying that the Delhi Chief Minister has misused public funds. She has to return 11 crores of rupees. Either she has to return or party has to return. The fact of the matter is that before every elections, maybe a year before that, like we are seeing now at the central level, every government, whether it's the state government or central government, whichever party is in power, uses a lot of public funds to advertise their achievements. What do you think of this? What do you think of the Lokayukta order in the context of this?
I think the order has come at a very good time. I think this is a reminder that government finds infinite number of ways to waste public money. Purely by accident, I was looking some old papers of 97, 98,
yes,
and I saw a circular issued by me as Cabinet Secretary addressed to all secretaries to Government of India in 97,
okay,
saying that any advertisements that you give on behalf of the ministry should be very short, quarter page, confined 1, 2, 3, 4, no photographs of anybody.
Okay.
This is not a publicity, free publicity at government expense or any politician, etc., etc. Now, this is going to be highly inconvenient because the press won't like it, media won't like it, advertisement agencies won't like it on one species ground or the other. I think the clear rule should be that if advertisements are given in this kind of a manner, the party should pay for it, not from public exchequer. So long as that condition is met, let them have hundreds of pages. One last comment.
Yes.
I heard that one state government, so many Hindi channels were so thrilled with the state government because they said, we are kept afloat. We cannot criticize that government only because of them we make so much money. And I think the Lokayukta has done yeoman service by pointing it out. Unfortunately, it is unpleasant medicine. Nobody will like it.
Nobody will like it. Mr. Subramanian, just one more question. You said that there was this order which you issued as Cabinet Secretary in 97, 98. But ever since that order has been, more in breach, has been, or rather than complying with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, for every birthday of every great man, and for this great country has had hundreds of great people, we have had full page statements in every newspaper, everywhere. Everybody was happy with this waste of public expenditure.
Absolutely. Let me get Siddharth Nath Singh in on this. Siddharth Nath Singh, it was your party man who went to the Lokayukta. Yesterday, the Lokayukta has come out with this order. In what the order is quite commendable, as Mr. Subramanian says, and it's also a warning to the political parties at this stage. But this is an issue which it is not just confined to one political party. Do you agree that all political parties indulge in this, in quotes, wasteful public expenditure?
I think what Mr. Subramanian is saying regarding how to control the public, money, and these are all unnecessary expenditures. I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of echo,
Okay.
It's becoming very difficult for me to...
No, Siddharth, then we will come back to you. We'll get it fixed and I'll come back to you. Let me go to Mohammed Afzal. Mr. Afzal, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Afzal,
yes.
Mr. Afzal, this is an indictment.
I can hear you.
Yes, this is an direct indictment of the Delhi Chief Minister, your own party Chief Minister. 5 years back, they had indulged in this, what the Lok Ayukta calls as waste of public expenditure. How is your party going to defend this act of the Chief Minister?
I'm not going to make any comment on Lok Ayukt's comments.
Please continue.
The Delhi government is definitely seeing all this, how to take up this issue. But as far as you have taken up this discussion today, I think it's a need, sometimes the government needs proper advertisement of its schemes and different programs so that they can have the reach to the masses. Because it's very difficult sometimes, now especially I'm talking about the day-to-day affairs and especially the schemes which are not reaching to the masses because of lack of publicity. So we'll have to see what we are supposed to do in this.
See the model.
And we will have to also see in what kind of advertisements the Lok Ayukt has taken the notice that they were over expenditure and what they are saying.
Okay. Can I go to Siddharth that's saying? Siddharth, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Siddharth, it was your party man who went to the Lok Ayukta. You were saying something that you were referring to what Mr. Subramanian said, and the Congress spokesperson also says that.
Let me.
Yes, please.
We need to draw a distinction while advertising. There is a way, if you look at the Gujarat, let me give an example of Gujarat, where tourism has been promoted through Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, and the footfall in Gujarat, because of those promotional ads, it has helped Gujarat to generate revenue in the form of tourism. It's a nice, it's a productive, it is contributory advertising. But when you look at it in a different way, which I will not relate to only one political party, but I'll say it across the board.
Yes.
That before the elections, the party in ruling generally uses, the government money for advertising. I think that's where we all need to, with the passing of time now, and with more awareness coming through the media in the public about the governance issue, and with all these lot of corruptions which is happening, I think it is time that we all need to sit down together and draw a line where the public money is not wasted for basically serving the purpose for the government to come into the, for the elections. So I think we need to make a distinction, but again, I'm expressing this as an individual because a structured discussion in the party has not taken place, but I think there is a time where we all need to sit together as political parties and address this issue that no political party will use this kind of public money through the government agencies to advertise their achievements and all, which benefits them during the election. But yes, if there is a scheme which has been launched at that time, but it needs to be publicized for the awareness of the people and for the good of the people, I think that is quite visible. We should encourage that. So a fine line needs to be drawn, a kind of do's and don'ts. Perhaps we will be able to address this issue which you are raising.
Siddharth, Lok Ayukta has come out with a very interesting order also, saying that the Delhi Chief Minister should reimburse 11 crores of rupees either her or through or her party. This is opening a floodgate. It is not going to end with only Delhi. I'm sure if in every state where somebody goes to a Lokayukta or to the court, the same kind of orders we may start seeing.
I think, well, you need to begin somewhere. So hopefully, let us see which direction it goes. But there is an Lokayukta order, and the direction has been given. It is for the government of Delhi to address that issue, and I hope they do address that issue.
So you think that politicizing this order can be damaging to all political parties?
Well, I think in all fairness, we have to at times address certain issues beyond politics. And why I'm saying this is because the way the governance is moving in India, and particularly when governance issues are being addressed by the Congress-ruled states or the Congress at the center, there's a lot to be corrected. Governance is becoming a big question mark. Transparency is being compromised. And I think in that direction, the government has to address, and that is an order from the Lokayukta towards the Delhi government, and they should be looking at that seriously in the interest of governance, transparency, and democracy. Okay,
Dilip, coming to you. This is an issue which cannot wait anymore, because one of the things which the Lokayukta has said is, evolve certain guidelines, evolve safeguards and things like that. What can be the safeguards? Mr. Subramanian says that, he in 97, 98, he had issued an order which is being absorbed more in breach.
I think that what is coming through very clearly, Girish, is that one, orders are not being observed.
Yes.
Two, ruling parties find it a convenient method, one among many, to open up the public coffers for their own private good.
Right.
These two things are happening. The third thing that is happening is a lot of pious talk. Now, unless we actually see, as you said, the floodgates opening, and more governments being indicted publicly.
Right.
But yet, we have a situation where governments are, in some senses, fighting back and saying, oh, these orders have no semblance of reality. For example, I don't understand that how you can communicate, for example, a scheme which is directed towards the poor, like say for example Manrega, through English medium. So English media is not going to be your audience for a Manrega campaign.
But the English media, English newspapers and television channels are full of it.
That's right. So therefore there is something wrong, one. Two, as far as the media side is concerned, we can't allow media to duck that either. Media is a willing and compliant partner in this whole process, and governments recognize that this is one way of early buying out of support.
Right.
And don't forget, the third thing that's happening is that in terms of media trends, you are having less and less of editors and more of owners running both television and print.
Right.
As a result, he who pays the bagpiper is actually filling his bag too. So you are actually in a very dangerous situation as a polity. So what Siddharth is saying is right. We need to sit together without political affiliations, as it were, and actually work out, as Mr. Subramanian said, a set of guidelines and have public watchdogs to make sure that 2 years before elections, because clearly the 1 year deadline is too short.
6 months. Actually, what the Election Commission has said in one of these orders is 6 months.
The Election Commission is perhaps constrained by the fact that as it is, there is this sort of unspoken fear that the Election Commissions love elections because their writ runs from 6 months before to the entire period of very often many rounds of elections. So they love it too. So it's in a sense taking control over from the political masters. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but I know for certain that common sense is being flouted and good governance is by the wayside.
Mr. Sharma,
Sir.
you belong to an advertising agency. You people are seen as one of the culprits in this whole thing, because you are the people who goes and convinces the governments to issue advertisements. As Dilip was saying, it's also, the governments are also not very innocent. They also know how to, this is one of the ways of appeasing the media also, because media is also party to all these things. So, where do you see this kind of a safeguard? What kind of safeguards do you think can be, and can they be evolved at all in the kind of atmosphere that we live in?
See, Girish, as an advertising agency and as an individual, I would like to comment both ways. We as an advertising agency are supposed to follow the instructions of the client side, that is the government department and the ministries. Whatever they ask us to, like submit the creatives, we translate that brief into the creatives and it goes. But then what Cherian has said and what Siddharth has said, I totally agree with them that there has to be confined guidelines to the advertising, keeping in mind the interest of the general public. And within those guidelines, without communication, the government schemes cannot be promoted.
And
yes, all this
government schemes cannot be promoted, but the government schemes need not have these huge pictures of the political leaders.
See, on that I've commented that we are going exactly as per the brief.
We cannot what the client says.
Yeah, we cannot take care of the interest of the public. We have to go by what the client says. And here the client is the government. So, I mean, as an individual, yes, we should avoid the pictures. We should focus on the specific brief for the general masses. And Cherian has very rightly said that Narega scheme, publicizing in English channels and English newspapers,
makes no sense.
Makes no sense at all.
Okay, let me get Venkitesh in on this. Venkitesh, one of the biggest culprits in this is, we know how the media, the media marketing people run behind the state governments and central governments, and how important it is for them to. I was reading somewhere just now that some of the biggest earners for television channels and newspapers in the last 6 months have been the government advertisements. So, how will the media react to this regulation?
Media, I think there will be a mixed reaction, because when I was traveling in the Chhattisgarh during the last assembly elections, I discovered in Raipur alone there 4 new local television channels had come up. A national television channel had set up its
regional station there.
Regional organization,
yeah.
And about 15 print organizations had come up, print publications had come up, including dailies and magazines. So, elections are certainly a period where the media tries to make a fast buck, if we can put it that way. So, that is something which also needs to be brought under these guidelines that we are talking about. We need to think how this spurt of media expeditions, as I would call it, start during the time of elections, and how existing big media itself makes use of the election season to spread its advertising revenue.
Yes.
So that is something which we also need to look into this thing. But then whatever the guidelines we have, whatever the systems that we have, as Mr. Subramanian has very rightly observed, unless we have a mechanism which is keen on implementing the guidelines, which is very strict in implementing the guidelines, then all these guidelines will have no value. If you look at the history of Election Commission itself, unless until the time Mr. T.N. Session gave it an institutional makeover and gave it bigger bite, the institution of Election Commission itself was being ridiculed by a lot of people.
Right.
But that changed dramatically. So I think what we require is that kind of an intervention.
Okay, Mr. Subramanian, you think the mechanism which Venkitesh Ramakrishnan is talking about is something? Do we need a separate mechanism, or do you think the existing mechanisms like the Election Commission should do?
No, we can entrust it to any appropriate, independent, constitutional or statutory agency. You may not need to create a separate mechanism, but you need a mechanism. you need to allocate the subject to somebody.
Right.
Unfortunately, not having a guideline, and if there is a guideline, not enforcing it is in the interest of a large number of players.
Right.
And therefore, whichever agency implements it is going to incur unpleasantness. So, therefore, it is important that subject should be recognized. The two principles: no photographs, number one. Number two, all announcements are extremely terse, 2-line, 3-line announcements, number two. Number three, where any advertisement is required, party should pay. So long as these are agreed to by everybody, let them be as lavish as they want.
Okay. Mohammad Afzal, you think the political parties will agree to this kind of strict adherence to these kind of regulations, saying that only the party should pay if there is anything which the government schemes have to be announced or publicized, it has to be as brief as possible without any photographs. You think that's a good idea?
Yes, some sort of mechanism has to be developed, and other speakers rightly said that it's a very complex situation, because there is one important need that the public programs and government programs and the schemes which are to be meant for the people are to be publicized properly. But as far as the misuse of that publicity, and you have rightly pointing out, the media is also creating a lot of problem nowadays.
Right.
The television channels, the newspapers and other. I have been working when I was in the parliament. I was always fighting for this, because I was always saying that the major chunk of DAVP advertisement was going to English newspapers. On the other hand, when we go for the election, we always publish our posters, our material in Hindi language or Bengali language and Punjabi language, wherever we fight.
Right.
But when we come in the parliament, we are always serving for English newspapers, because a particular upper class is interested in English newspapers.
The pressure
and
of
your
the
publicity
media
is going to the upper class.
The pressure, Afzal,
yes, it's a pressure of media also,
the pressure of the media on
which
political
is
parties.
creating a lot of problem for the political parties also.
Right. Pressure. Let me get Siddharth Nath Singh. Pressure of the media on the political parties. Do you think the political parties in this country at this stage has it in them to resist that kind of pressure? Because it works both ways.
Well, I think, well, it works both ways. When the elections, we are nearing the election, it is the reverse. The media's pressure is on the political parties and the politicians across the board. And election years are always a party time, a bonanza time for the media houses and the advertisers. Let me be honest, even the elections are not declared, but we are in the election year. And I must say that across the board, all those who are thinking of contesting also, forget those who have been declared, but those who are thinking of contesting are keeping the media houses, whether they are on a vernacular level, regional level or on the national level, happy, so that their programs get covered, and that is all through the advertising and something like that. So there is a pressure during the election year from the media on the politicians or the political parties, but when it goes on the other side, when the elections year are not there, then the political parties or the government, they also enjoy the privilege to pressurize the media for carrying their news or looking at the government. So there is both ways, but honestly, we need to bring a balance, and we do need to bring a true journalism in this country. And I feel if there is a level playing field, then all political parties will be happy to welcome this decision, and it will benefit everybody, even the political parties, the media houses, the advertisers, and also to the public, because they will get a genuine reporting and not articles of convincing their minds.
Paid news, as
well, I didn't use that word. I didn't use that word.
Okay, but that's very well known anyway. Siddharth, but do you think that in this kind of a situation, the political parties should on their own get together and work out some regulation and not wait for something to be imposed by the Supreme Court?
Well, in my opinion, the time has come where political parties need to address these issues, and if it is again thrust upon by a mass agitation which we saw by people like Anna Hazare, and then Supreme Court intervening in a lot of matters where it was for the executive to take a call. I think it will be very unfair. We have been assigned a role. We should be honest towards it, and we should address these issues on our own rather than allowing a third party to tell us what we are supposed to be doing.
Dilip, you know, this just recently there was a second anniversary or third anniversary, second anniversary of a government, a southern state government, where we saw this full page advertisements, several pages, not just one page advertisement. This is the second year of the government, finishing second year. But these are also in some way or the other trying to influence the voter at some point of time. So how do you justify this in the first 2-3 years and then say that in the last 1 year you can't do it, the last 6 months you can't do it? There needs to be certain...
Absolutely. The whole range of celebratory advertising, whether on TV or in the print, is waste of exchequer money.
Right.
Entirely. There's no question and there's no doubt on that. Also, I'm questioning the very need for advertising to popularize schemes. Most schemes are best dealt with at the user level.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the fact is that today, most of this kind of advertising is not what converts non-aware citizens into citizens who use these services. That's a fact. Having said that, sure, there is some kinds of advertising which tells you where to go and get your passport or your Aadhaar card. For example, the advertising that went on to publicize and make sure that everyone got their Aadhaar card was an example of a good campaign.
Yes.
There is a program that's run.
And also voters to go and vote.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Mr. Gupta.
Rakesh.
Sharma. So Mr. Rakesh Sharma. So you think the advertising agencies will be able to adapt to this kind of situation? They will be able to.
Why not?
There won't be any pressure from the advertising world on the political parties, because media is not going to let out this pressure, because as everybody has said, that is, election season is a bonanza season for the media, and it's also a bonanza season for the advertising agencies.
Yes, absolutely right. It is the bonanza period, but addressing the issue, whatever kind of advertising is acceptable to the government department, or whatever brief we get, we will be more than happy to take care of the interest of the general masses.
So there is no pressure from the advertising side on these political parties. That's what you're trying to say?
No. Huh? Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Venkatesh, you think this pressure which the political parties feel from both the media, it's also a time for the political parties to appease the media.
Absolutely. I don't see any quick end to this situation despite the Lokayat observations and the way it has directed the Delhi government to pay the penalty.
The chief minister has to pay the
penalty. I don't foresee any kind of dramatic change either in the attitude or conduct of the political parties or that of the media organizations, or in the process or the process that I was talking about, the sudden blossoming or sudden coming up of so many media organizations at the time of the election bonanza, and the way the advertisement agencies are going to push or use the election season to advance their. So I don't see this is going to happen. This is going to be a long drawn affair, and an affair which requires very concentrated intervention from social observers.
Okay. On that note, we need to end. The debate we have at least begun the debate, and we hope this debate will continue in other mediums also, because this is an issue which needs all political parties, not just political parties, the media, the advertising world, and everybody has to come together to work out some kind of a solution so that there is a level playing field and public money is not wasted. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. T.S.R. Subramanian, Siddharth Nath Singh, Mohd Afzal, Venkitesh Ramakrishnan, Dilip Cherian, and Rakesh Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture same time tomorrow.